Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Widener, and I'm a cyber engineer and analyst with Red Sky Alliance. Today's threat brief contains information gathered from open source and WAPAC Labs collections over the past 7 days. On the agenda for today, we're going to briefly discuss the top 5 penetration test findings of 2019, and then cover some open source and social media events, covering recent data breaches and cyber attacks. After that, we'll go over 7 days of trending, including the latest APT activities, Botnet activities, cloud security, blacklists, and keylogger activity. Business security consulting firm Laris recently released a report detailing the most frequent findings during their 2019 penetration test engagements. Today, we're going to briefly cover the top 5. Weak and guessable passwords comes in at number 1. Some of the examples included in their report includes the names of local sports teams, the company name itself, user pet names, and using a combination of the current season and the current year. For mitigation, all the usual password guidance applies. When choosing a password, use both upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. Enable multi-factor authentication if possible, and avoid reusing passwords across multiple services to reduce the chances of success for credential stuffing attacks. Kerberoasting involves abusing a feature of the Windows Kerberos ticket granting protocol to downgrade the encryption to use the RC4 encryption algorithm. This algorithm is vulnerable to an offline brute force attack that can be used to recover service account credentials that typically have administrative privileges. Using this attack, an attacker could gain administrative level access to servers that use the Kerberos protocol for authentication. Many tools exist to automate the attack, including Rubius, Metasploit, Powersploit, Empire, and Impacket. Recommended mitigation is to disable RC4 Kerberos encryption in favor of AES encryption. Excessive file permissions can be abused by an attacker to replace system binaries with malicious ones. Specifically vulnerable are system processes that automatically execute other programs as a part of their function. File or directory permissions that do not restrict overwriting of those secondary programs could allow an attacker to replace the legitimate program with one of their own. If the secondary program is executed with elevated permission, the attacker's replacement program will be as well. If the automatic execution is set to run periodically at a specified time interval, this technique could also be used as a persistence method. Recommended mitigation is to use a file integrity monitoring tool to alert administrators if a system binary has been changed. And additionally, it is recommended to audit system processes that execute secondary programs for file and directory permissions that could allow this technique to be abused. The EternalBlue vulnerability, also known as MS17-010, targets vulnerabilities in the Microsoft SMB Network Protocol version 1. This vulnerability was exploited by the WannaCry malware in order to spread. A patch was released in 2017 by Microsoft, and an adversary could exploit this vulnerability to move laterally through an organization without login credentials. Mitigations for this vulnerability include applying the patch if possible, disable SMB version 1 in favor of new versions of the protocol, and firewalling SMB port TCP 445. The Windows Management Instrumentation tool, known as WMI, is a legitimate Microsoft tool for interacting with or gaining access to remote Windows systems. As a legitimate administration tool, WMI offers many functions that could be abused by an attacker to remotely view or change system configurations, establish persistence, and move laterally through an organization. Recommended mitigation is to only allow WMI access from a few trusted administrative hosts and block access from all other network hosts to prevent lateral movement via WMI. In open source this week, researchers have discovered a database containing more than 2,300 Zoom.us credentials being traded in underground forums. More attention is being paid to online collaboration platforms recently due to the increase in the number of workers working from home because of COVID-19. 59 Zoom.us indicator hits have been found in Red Sky Alliance proprietary data since January 1st, 47 of which have been ingested since March 1st. The observed hits have been collected from Pastebin, which people appear to be using to share meeting URLs. Exchanging these URLs over an insecure channel like Pastebin is exposing meeting data that should remain secret. All of the observed URLs expose the meeting ID number, and some of them include the meeting password as a query parameter. Recommended action is to refrain from using public data dump sites like Pastebin when exchanging meeting information, especially meeting passwords. Compromised Zoom credentials or those from other platforms can give attackers access to sensitive company or personal information, intellectual property, or can lead to social engineering attacks. The credentials can also be used to perform Zoom bombing attacks, in which an attacker gains access to an ongoing Zoom meeting with the intention of disrupting it. One of the common attack vectors being discussed in these forums is credential stuffing, which is a brute force attack which aims to take advantage of the fact that while people may or may not have strong passwords, the tendency is still to use the same password for multiple services. Thus, more general password collections can be used to perform credential searches. Zoom is not the only platform being targeted, but certainly seems to be the most popular. Other platforms like Cisco's WebEx are being targeted with recycled phishing campaigns. Also in open source news, phishing attackers may have a new technique available to them known as text direction deception. This deception will attempt to thwart email filters by submitting backwards text, which then gets rendered correctly upon reading the email. This technique is made possible using CSS transformation like flip_h, which allows text to be flipped horizontally upon rendering. CSS transformations affect HTML formatted email messages when they are rendered in a web browser or an email client that supports HTML formatted email messages. It may be possible to revitalize old phishing campaigns with this new method of hiding text, given that current filters are unlikely trained using the backward text. Gray noise remains consistent with prior reporting. SMB Scanner, Mirai, and EternalBlue remain at the top of malicious botnet activity observed this week, with ChinaNet, VNPT, and Data Communications Business Group topping the malicious activity by ASN list. Last week, we recorded approximately 1 million of the indicators listed above. These collections included our threat recon, keylogger, malicious emails, and sinkhole traffic. The numbers on this slide show the indicators in the respective collections. Indicators are available to paid Red Sky Alliance members weekly, as well as our blacklists, which come in CSV, FortiSIM, and Proofpoint formats. Here are the APT and Botnet indicators collected in the past 2 weeks. We had 338 unique APT indicators. This is up 112 indicators from the last brief. You can use your two-factor authentication to log into CTAC to download the indicators discussed today. Please contact us on Slack or via email for any assistance. On the right, you can see our top sinkhole statistics sorted by malware type. Here we have the top APT indicators over the past 7 days. Topping this list is Sickypot with Maudi in second and Weckby in third. Botnet activity over the past 7 days remains consistent with prior trending. ChinaNet, Bharti Airtel, and TE Data maintain their positions in the top 3. This week's cloud environment also remains consistent with prior trending. Amazon, Peak 10, and Alibaba top the high-risk category this week, with TierPoint and ONR in the caution category, while HE.com remains at a lower risk status. In our malicious email collections, we observed ongoing phishing campaigns against electroputer.ro and Kraber.com, attempting to deliver the W32 injector malware. Kraber is being targeted along with a Turkish municipal chamber of commerce using a coronavirus-related subject line. New this week is a campaign targeting Serbian banks, OTP Banka.rs and Voban.rs, delivering the Akami malware. Our blacklists are published weekly. On the right-hand side here, you can see some of our keylogger indicators. Last week, we observed 52,538 sinkhole connections from new unique IP addresses and 6 unique email accounts compromised with keyloggers. Please go to redskyalliance.org to inquire for additional support, complete blacklists, red X-ray, and API access. Thank you all for joining us today. Please visit our Red Sky Alliance portal at redskyalliance.org for additional cyber intelligence reporting. And if you have any questions regarding the topics briefed today, please get in touch with Jay McKee at wapaclabs.com. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again on Wednesday, April 29th. Everyone take care.